Hello, this is Richard Pears from Finextra TV, and we're here at Sustainable Finance Live, sponsored by Finextra and Responsible Risk. I'm joined here by Adrian Sargent from Virgin Money. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, what your role is, and we'll get into what we're doing here today at Sustainable Finance.
All right, thank you, Richard. So my role at Virgin Money is Treasury Operating Officer, and I've got developed a passion for sustainable finance through some independent studying I've been doing with the Association of Corporate Treasurers. So I've been doing a dissertation on sustainable finance and the applicability to UK banks.
Fantastic. So within the world of sustainable finance, the bond industry obviously is spoken about a lot, in particular obviously green bonds. Can you give us a sense of why it's an important area for us to think about in this context?
Definitely. So green bonds and the bond market is a force for good. So therefore there's significant capital there that can be deployed for green initiatives and the wider social and sustainable initiatives as well. So part of the activity today and part of the interest there is how do we unlock that potential? How do we make it easy for institutions to do that? How do we stimulate the market? Right,
because people talk about there being more demand for green bonds than there is supply, and some of the constraints are the cost of issuing the bond. Can you elaborate on that for us so we understand some of the challenges?
Yeah, so some of the research I've been doing has highlighted there's a lot of complexity in the data. There's a lot of complexity in the standards that are there as well. There's not necessarily a lot of clarity in which standards should be applied or which accreditors, because when you do a green bond issuance, you need to have it accredited to make sure that it's viable and it supports the various standards. So there's really clarity required in the marketplace there. And what a lot of institutions will suffer from is data and the right data available at the right time in order to support those bond issuances. So there needs to be some methodology put against that to make it simpler, and there needs to be some easier processes applied to extract the data to allow organisations to get at the data easier as well.
And is this something that, if you were to sit down with somebody and give them a playbook of how to do it, they would therefore be able to execute it? Or is this, very big, complex social, political changes that have got to be made? I mean, what's the order of the problem?
Yeah, so I mean, the bond market operates well today. There's a standard process there in the bond market. The complexity comes in identifying the assets that are green. And so therefore, it's quite simple in institutions needing to get that data right. One of the key things is that people haven't recorded that data over the last 2, 3, 4 decades or so. So institutions haven't got the systems to record the information properly. So therefore, when you're looking at it, I think there needs to be a change in the way that data is recorded initially, but then, looking retrospectively, how do you enhance the data that organisations already have, and how do you make that simple? Right. Because there's a lot of data in a lot of different places. How do you make that easy to extract to be able to support those issuances?
And so what we were doing here at Sustainable Finance Live was to sort of not just talk about the issues, but really get down with practitioners from a diverse group of markets and say, how do we break down those challenges that you've outlined? So from your point of view, what have you learned? What have you found about this experience that sort of gives you hope that we can get to solutions quicker than the current process?
Sure. So I mean, here today there's a lot of diverse individuals here, a lot of different backgrounds. It's not, or I think I'm probably in the minority being from a financial institution. Here, people are from different backgrounds on the sustainability framework, from technology, artificial intelligence, and there's a number of opportunities there to use technology and AI to look at data mining and allow organisations, and particularly sort of large complex financial organisations, to analyse the information they have and extract information from, we were just discussing earlier about PDFs and allowing, using AI to read a PDF and extract the information to show organisation what assets they have and what they're funding. That's perhaps not recorded in a simple ledger of loan X to customer Y maturing in 2020.
So identify what you've got by using some of these new techniques, actually sort of test on that initially, and then start to invest in new opportunities based on some of the new processes and disciplines that you've got. What do you think for you is the sort of key takeaway and actionable item that you're going to head off back to Scotland with on the sleeper with, and you're going to get into work tomorrow and do?
Well, I think it's really just looking at that data element and trying to understand how that can be applied and what the opportunities are there as well. So, the thinking outside the standard role and the standard processes that any organisation has. How can we link in with other companies? How can I sort of improve my understanding as well, and then put that into practice?
Fantastic. Adrian, thanks for being with us today and for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much.